This is Bill Brady, One United Body, talking on the topic gathering the scattered children. I had a dream many, many years ago, probably 20 or 30 now, maybe 20. Uh, and at the end, the punchline of the dream was I was told to gather the scattered children of the evangelical church. In the dream, there were 3 or so little children that were part of the first church that I was involved with, that I was gathered into as a new believer. And they were moving up and down. So in our terms, they were ascending and descending. And then the pastor of that church was also in the dream. And the Lord told me to have mercy on the pastor. My sense was, my memory now is that the Lord told me that he would be gathered in later, but the little children would be gathered first. So gather the scattered children of the evangelical church. Many, many have come out of the church. They've come out of the church age, and they are seeing heavenly realms, and they're entering into heavenly realms. But there is an actual gathering into the new ecclesia that needs to happen. Many, many people are seeing heavenly realms, are participating in the sense that they are observing, reading, listening to what's being said by forerunners in heavenly realms. But there's an actual gathering into the new ecclesia that needs to happen. And it has not happened in great numbers. I don't see just gathering to come to listen as being a gathering in. There's actually a gathering into actually participating in, an establishing of relationships with others in heavenly realms, and beginning to function together in heavenly realms. In Jesus' terms, there was a point that, and I've talked about this before, where he told his disciples to pray the Lord of the harvest that he might send forth laborers into the harvest. That night, Jesus went up the mountain and he had a dialogue with God the Father, and he came down the mountain the next day with a list, and he called the 12 apostles. The disciples, meantime, had been praying the Lord of the harvest to send forth laborers into the harvest, just as Jesus had told them to do. And from those who actually responded to his request to do that, he chose 12 to be with him, and that he might send them out. In other words, to become laborers in the harvest. There is a harvest to be harvested, and it takes laborers to actually harvest that harvest. It needs harvesters. Right now, there's a prophetic, on the prophetic timeline, there's a time of harvesting the harvesters. Those who are going to be laborers who will harvest the harvest at the end of time are themselves being harvested into this new ecclesia right now. So it's a harvest of laborers. It's not a harvest of observers. It's not a harvest of those that are investigating. Those are good first steps, and we all have a journey of coming from old to new, which includes having our first contact with heavenly realms, other heavenly realms believers, and starting to read what they write, to listen to what they have to say. But it's actually the gathering in of the laborers in the harvest that is the actual gathering of the ecclesia. So take your old wineskin mindset, toss it away. It's not a matter of coming to sit in the pews while somebody else does the preaching and teaching. It's an actual gathering into being part of the group that is doing the labor and is doing the actual harvesting of other harvesters of the harvest. That's what I've been doing, is harvesting harvesters of the harvest. I'm looking for those that are going to actually step into their destiny, not in just the sense of I'm coming to this new thing to get my personal problems fixed, but I'm coming to this new thing to sign up for my destiny to become a laborer in the harvest. And so now what practically does this come down to? when I first came into Heavenly Realms, I soon afterward began functioning as a facilitator of a group, and that group became a bench. It's my first experience of being part of a bench. The 3 or 4 of us that were actually part of a bench, there's 4 that were part of a bench at that point. I've been part of several other benches. I'm still part of several benches right now. So I see that a group of believers gathering together to function together in their identity is what an ecclesia is. An ecclesia is a task group. They have a joint mandate. They have, and I know some people don't like this word work, but they have a work to do together. The journey from old to new begins with seeing the old for what it is and running away from it. You get to where I just don't want to be part of that anymore because it doesn't meet my needs. In fact, it gets to where it's actually repelling me. I don't want to be a part of that. You get to where you're heading towards this new thing. In many cases, I see people that have come out because they've gotten to this place where they've become very much, the old is distasteful to them and they don't want to be part of it any longer. But I see them gathering together in groups where the thing that they have in common is bashing the old, how much they don't like the old, but they haven't gathered into anything that's actually going anywhere yet towards the new. That's the next part of the journey. I'm reminded of a politician that locally that had a campaign. His whole campaign is "I'm angry too." So he gathered together all the angry people, and we had a family friend that was a part of that because he was an angry man. The funny thing about it was he discovered they weren't angry about the same things he was angry about, so he split off from them because he was angry with them now. I'm teasing, but what I'm trying to say is being against the old is not enough. Coming into the new is the next step on the journey, and not just coming into the new to test it out, like where you're taking your big toe and putting it in the water to see whether the water's warm or cold. That's the first step. I mean, there's this whole journey we go on. But where is this journey of coming out and coming in going to? It's going to this place of becoming one of the laborers in the harvest, functioning as part of a team of believers that are laboring together. They have a joint mandate. A mandate is a assignment given to us personally or as a group. And I see especially with New Jerusalem, so I'm seeing we come out of the old, which is Babylon. It's out of the old religious system, out of the old economic system. There's more to it, but we come out of the old. We journey just like Abraham did from Ur of the Chaldees, which was out of Babylon, towards the promised land. But when he got to the promised land, he's still looking for the city whose builder and maker is God. He's looking for New Jerusalem. So the actual journey is from Babylon to New Jerusalem. And in New Jerusalem, you are still an individual, but you are no longer just an individual. You're part of a whole. You're a part of a oneness. You're part of one city, and you do not function alone. You function as part of groups, and the groups that we begin to function as part of are groups that are traveling together and then begin to labor together and then become benches. Right now, I'm on, I think, 3 benches currently, and so those are my ecclesia. Are these benches that I'm working with, that I'm functioning on. That's the journey that we're heading towards. We're journeying to a place of laboring together as groups that are laboring together. The new ecclesia is made up of relationships of people believers who function together in this new identity. The purpose of the identity is to function in the identity. So I'll leave you with that thought.